Good morning or afternoon based upon where you're located. This is Stuart Blumenthal, and I am excited today to have Jay from our team talk about document templates. So just a little quick introduction. Jay Chang has been with us for a few years. Jay is one of our awesome senior Intacct consultants, and the goal today is to go over document templates and able to change things like, as I mentioned in my email and on our line, is change things like change things such as our statements and your invoices, purchase orders or commitments, and get into the forms of the system, not reports, but the forms of the system. Jay, can you forward it to the next slide real quick? So just logistically, this presentation is 30 minutes. All the phone lines are muted. I am monitoring the questions feature, so if you ask any questions in there, feel free to I'll answer them, or I might interrupt Jay as we go throughout this process here. But please use the questions feature within the GoToWebinar. And if you want to copy this PowerPoint when it's done, just put your email address in there and I'll make sure that gets sent over to you. We have a very large audience today. I'm looking at the numbers here. So without further ado and stress for you, Jay, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, great. All right, so today's agenda is on the Sage Intacct document templates. And here are the following topics that I'll be going over in this PowerPoint. What are printed document templates, permissions and the prerequisites required in order to access those templates and modify those templates and add, update, merge fields. Looping merge fields, so add or editing merge field, I'll get into that. I'll also talk about the looping merge fields, which is in the detail section of your transaction. Some of the common switches that are used with the merge fields, the conditional formatting with merge fields, and then last but not least, questions and answers. Okay, so let's get into it. What is a printed doc template? Okay, printed document templates, a Microsoft Word file that's stored in Sage Intacct, allows you to create a printable and or emailable PDF document within Sage Intacct. Okay, merge fields are used in the document template to fill in those fields with data for those fields populating from Sage Intacct. And I just took a quick screenshot of a purchase order transaction screen here with a printed doc template here. Okay, so the permissions and prerequisites required, you'll have to have subscribed to platform services. You'll need permissions added to your Intacct user account. Okay, and then the third, you'll have to download, and this is actually optional. There's a link when you get into platform services where you can download and install the Sage Intacct printed doc template toolbar, and it's an add-in for Microsoft Word. Okay, and that tool makes it easier because you can just choose from a list and then double click or drag it over into your actual doc template, and it'll give you that merge field. Okay, the other option is to download a list of merge fields from the help menu in Intacct. When you look it up in the help menu, there's a link where if you click on it, it'll give you a Word document that gives you a list of all the merge fields that you can then use to copy paste from. Okay, and really the third option that I like to use is a print, depending on which transaction screen you're in. You can either click, it's either going to be a print to XML or it's going to be a view XML option that's located in the more actions menu, and that'll and I'll go over that. So let me actually bring up the browser here, and I've got the sales demo Sage Timberline construction instance up right now. So I'm just going to switch to this tab here and go over the permissions first. So here in the company application, you have to have subscribed to platform services. So you can see platform services here. If you go under subscriptions, you should see, I believe, platform services right here, and you can see that it's enabled. Okay. Once you are subscribed to that, you'll see this in the menu dropdown. The other half, if you don't see it, the other half to it is to have the access to it. So if you go into your security roles, let's just take a look at the admin one. If you go into subscriptions for any of your security roles that you have assigned to you, you need to make sure that platform services is enabled, and under the permissions, at a minimum, you need to have printed doc templates. Okay, list, view, add, edit, delete. So this is what you'll need in order for you to see it. All right. So once you have that here in the platform services, when you click on the application, you'll see a printed doc templates link. Okay. So when we go in there, right at the top, there's a link, download the Sage Intacct printed doc template toolbar for Microsoft Word. So this is an executable file. Once you install it, you'll see an add-on on your Microsoft Word document. Okay. So pulling that up here. Okay, so you will see once you have that add-in installed, there will be an add-in tab that appears. It's pretty basic. There's a drop down that shows Intacct, and you will have to log into it. It's showing on my other screen here. So when I click on that login, you'll get this Intacct login, company ID, user ID, and password. This is your instance ID. Okay, and then of course your username, password. And I'm just gonna populate that here on the other screen. Don't like to share my credentials. I'm sure you understand. Just copying and pasting my fields here. Okay, so I logged in. It said login successful. That little menu screen goes away, and then now if I click on this drop down, I'll have logged in. So now it's giving me the option to log out. Properties, there's really nothing to look at there. Insert merge field is where you want to go. So when I click on insert merge field, it takes a second, but you should get a pop-up window that looks like this. Okay, and then from here, you can click on the drop down to choose what application your Word doc template is for. Okay, so in my example, I'm using purchasing. When I choose that application, purchasing, you'll see the list of your transaction definitions showing up here. So for the one I'm looking at, it's purchase order. Okay, and so within purchase order, you can see all of the different merge fields. Okay, by default, it's not alphabetized. You will have to click on the header, which will then alphabetize it. All right, so here is your list of merge fields. Okay, so from here, you'll have to hover your cursor over to the field that you want inserted. So here in this example, it's right there. And so if I wanted to put in maybe a total, I just double click and you can see behind there, it just populates in the merge field. Okay. The other option is to manually do it. And if you were to manually do it, I'm sorry, I kind of went out of order here. I got too excited. I'm sorry, give me just a second here. Let me get back to the PowerPoint. So those are the different options here. So let me just move on to the next slide here. The other option besides using the tool is to go to your help and support here. And if you go to the help center, you can actually look up merge fields. And if you look up merge fields, I believe there is, where did it go? So this gives you some of those merge fields right on the screen here. There is another link that gives you the actual download.
We could also send that out afterwards, Jay, if needed.
Okay.
Oh, there. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where it was. I had it, but it timed out on me. Okay, so we can add that to the presentation afterwards. But you can see there, you can copy and paste right from there, or you can go off of the actual document that you download. This is what it looks like here. So it gives you all the different categories and all the merge fields. Okay, so for example, this here, order entry sales invoice, you can copy this, copy and paste any of these merge fields. Okay, there should be one for purchasing as well. Here's invoices and purchase invoices. So if you wanted to bring in maybe the document ID, you can copy that, go to your Word doc template, and put it in and paste it over to the field that you want it, right? Okay, whether it be in the header or down below at the bottom. Okay, so you have a couple options. Okay, so document template usage and download. To find the document template that is currently in use, you will have to go to the setting of the transaction definition or application configuration. Document templates can be downloaded by going to platform services, printed doc templates. Okay, so before you can add, edit, modify, merge fields on a doc template, you do have to, of course, figure out where it's in use and where it's being pointed from. So going back to Sage Intacct here, in the purchase order example I'm using, it really depends on what application you're looking for that doc template. If it's accounts payable, it's going to be in the setup in the configuration towards the bottom. Accounts receivable, if it's a statement or an AR invoice, it's going to be in the setup configuration towards the bottom. However, if it's order entry, purchasing, or inventory, purchasing in my example, it's not going to be in the configuration. For purchasing, it's all under the transaction definition. So if I go to purchasing setup and come over to the transaction definitions here, you will see for purchase order, if I click edit, and again, this is in the setup, at the very bottom, in the print section, you'll see that in the printed document template, this is where it's saying I want this purchase order to use this specific transaction definition. Okay, so this is where you would go to see what template it's being pointed to. Okay, and then to access the actual template, you'll go to platform services under printed doc templates and look for that template. So here in the template name, if you've got many and you know it's for purchasing, you can filter it down by putting in purchasing. And that narrows it down. I know it's this one that was chosen, okay? So if you want to download it, you can just click template and that'll download to your computer so that you can then access it, okay? Which is what I have here, okay? And then you would make all your edits and updates, save it, come back into your printed doc templates here, click edit, choose the file, okay? Pick that that template file that you've just updated, and then save, okay? And that'll essentially update in Sage Intacct. And at that point, you can go to your list of transactions and click print or email, or from within the transaction, you can print or email. Okay. All right, so this is where I skipped ahead. So add or edit a merge field. So you can use the toolbar to insert in a toolbar, copy paste from another document, or manually entered one in. That's kind of what I talked about earlier, the different options to add or edit a merge field. Okay. The other option is to manually enter in one. So if you are going to manually create one and you know what that merge field name is, you can use the Control plus F9 keys on your keyboard to bring in those curly brackets. If you're on a Mac, then it's Option plus F9, okay, in the Word document. Manually entering in the curly brackets will not work. You need Word document to get that entered in. So what I mean by that is, if I were to delete this out, if you're manually doing it, if I'm just going to use my keyboard and do this and put in my merge field, that's not going to work, okay? You do have to press Control F9 and have the Word document know that it's a merge field, okay? So within here is where you can manually type in merge field. If I know that it's called total, and then if I have any switches, I can put that in here, okay? And you can copy paste as well. Something like that, okay? And that would give you your total. And so if it's in this list, then you can, pick and choose and insert. I guess what I sometimes don't like about this toolbar is I don't always know what field is the data that I'm actually looking for, or what field in here is the actual field in Sage Intacct that I'm looking for. Okay, so this is useful, but then there are times that I like to go into Sage Intacct. Oops, switching around here. And let's say I'm looking for this field. Let's say it's not so obvious, and I'm not sure that's called message. Then what I'll do is I will copy the actual data, and then up at the top right here, I'll go to more actions, and there's a print to, and depending on what transaction screen you, excuse me, what transaction screen you're in, there might be a view to XML. But in this particular transaction, it's print to. So if I click that, there will be an XML option. Okay, so if I choose XML, from here, I can do a find and then paste in my test message. Okay, so it finds that actual data, and I know it's this merge field right here, which is between the key. Okay, so I can copy this, go back into my merge field or my Word doc template here, and then I could, paste it in here like so. Okay. Okay, so depending on where you want it is where you're going to place it, of course. So I like to use that XML field a lot of times for any custom fields that might, that we might have created or someone prior to me might have created that I'm not sure of. I like to look at that actual data field, check it in XML, and see what that key field is to see what my merge field should be. Okay. Okay. Okay, looping merge fields. So in Sage Intacct, under any transactional screen that you're in, there's going to be an entry section. The entry section of that transaction is a looping merge field. Okay. What I mean by that looping merge field is that within the entries section, there can be as many rows as you input. So there could be as many as 20 rows. If it's a project contract, your schedule value lines, there could be 20, 30 rows. I mean, it could be on a purchase order where you've got, several lines in there. So basically, when it's a looping merge field, Sage Intacct just goes through every line entry basically and pulls that data for every line. Okay, so a prime example would be the table start entries and table end entries merge fields. Okay, so this is indicating to your Word doc template that it's a looping merge field. Okay, any field between the above two fields, the table start and the table end entries, is part of the loop. Okay, so the above table start entries and table end entries do not appear on the printed doc template. Okay, so this is just indicating to your Word doc template that it's a looping merge field, but it doesn't appear in your printed doc template. Okay, and you cannot input non-looping fields within the loop, and you also cannot input a looping field outside of the loop. Okay, what I mean by that, let me go back to my Word doc template here. Here's a common example here. So if you look at this entry section here, okay, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. I'm saying merge field table start entries. Okay, so this is my entries section. I might have, several rows within the entries. And to make sure that it loops through each time and gives me every row in my transaction, I have to indicate table start entries. Okay, and so here's my first merge field right there. This doesn't show anywhere. Okay, right after that, you will see for the actual column that I want is item number. So right after that, I've got a merge field right here that says merge field entries item ID. Okay, so this item ID is a merge field within the loop. Same with description. Okay, it's a entries underscore item description, so it belongs there. Unit, entries underscore unit. Quantity, entries underscore quantity. Price. So you kind of get the picture. So if we look at Sage Intacct here in this purchase order, anything that is in here are looping, are merge fields that are looping merge fields, okay? So if I were to try and put, I don't know, like this item ID up here at the top somewhere, it would not work. This header, anything outside of the entries up above here, these are header fields. They're not looping. They're unique to the document itself. So you can put those anywhere in the Word document outside of the loop, which is what you're seeing here, like requisitioner, shipping method, terms. There is no table start and table end, okay? So if I were to try and put this item ID merge field, this one, up here or up here, it's not going to work, okay? And vice versa. So I cannot put like this due date merge field when due. I cannot put that within the loop. It's not going to work. All right. Okay, so that's kind of the idea of the looping merge fields, just so you have an idea what can and cannot go within the entries. Okay, and entries fields that cannot go outside of the loop. Okay, some common merge field switches. I would say these are the three common ones that I use. There are others out there. Upper, this just formats the word or the field to be in caps. Okay, so here's an example of that. It's a merge field project, for example, and with the backslash asterisk with upper, your your word would be in all caps, okay? This one here is just to format the number field so that it shows like this, you know. Okay, and here's an example of that actual merge field. Entries underscore transaction underscore price with that switch. Okay, and then here is a date format switch, and this formats it so the date looks like that. And there's an example of that merge field. So here's that when due merge field with that parameter. Okay, so taking a look at this, you can see you've got some of those switches here that you can see. So for the price, you're seeing that switch there, here. Like it actually goes from there to there. Right there. Same with some of the other ones. This in the ship to field, there is an upper switch right here. You can see. Okay, so that just makes everything in caps here. I don't know if I put in a date. I thought I did, but I might not have. But it's easy enough. So here's a due date. Here's when due. So if I go back to this, I can. Oh, let me actually just type it in. It's not letting me copy paste. So if I were to just manually type this in, I can put in backslash with the @ sign with the quotes mm-m-m-y and quote, and that would be it. Okay, so this switch that you commonly see is a default that is produced, and it's just really, it's a switch that's saying leave the data that's formatted out of the box as is basically what that means. I would say it's optional if you're trying to put in a custom switch. You don't really need that. So you can just leave it like this, okay? All right, so with me saving that change there, if I come back over to my printed doc templates here. I'm gonna choose that file, and you can see I modified it 116 at 9:30. Here in Hawaii, it's 9:30. I'm just gonna double click that, choose that file, save it. Now that it's uploaded, and you can see when it was modified by me, switch back to this tab here for the actual PO. Now if I print this and expand this, you'll see the due date, okay? And then that ship to, that was in caps, you can see that as well. All right. So those are some of the common switches that I use, but there are more out there that you can Google. Okay. And then the last part, there is a conditional, a merge field conditional formatting that I commonly use depending on the situation. This is kind of like a if, then, else this. So in my example, it's if the condition equals A, then use this. Otherwise, use that. Okay. So here's an example of that conditional formatting in a merge field. So I'm saying if my merge field of the ship via, okay, the shipping method equals ship to Batcave, then use the merge field called Batcave. Okay, but if it doesn't have the shipping method of ship to Batcave, then choose project address instead. Okay, and then I'm saying make it all caps. So you can see here, this is kind of this is a merge field that's nested. So you've got the main if conditional formatting, that's a merge field, and then you've got the several 3 different merge fields within it. So if you're to manually create that, you'll have to use your control F9 button to do that, or F10. So going back into my merge field, oops, that's the document. Let me just exit out that. Here in the purchase order merge field, you can see I've done just that there. Okay, so if you were to manually create this, you would say control, you would type in control F9, and that would give you your initial merge field, and then you would have to do another control F9 there, with another control F9 there, and another control F9 there. Okay, so if you're manually doing this, you would just type this in and then put in your merge field. Or you can copy paste these in, okay? And these double quotes these quotes just mean it's a fixed data, whereas this is an actual merge field, okay? So going back to my document here.
Couple of quick things. Jay, there's a couple questions. Do you mind if I jump in for a second?
No, go for it.
I know you, plus Jay's got a cough, so it gives you a second to get a drink there. Couple quick things. First of all, one of you has been trying to do this behind the scenes, and I appreciate that. They were getting an error saying the sender ID cdocs_v2 is not authorized. If you get anything like that, please send an email to our support. There could be a slight chance that your system was not set up to be authorized. So there could be there's an additional layer of security within Sage Intacct, so that the CDocs has to be authorized. And so very rare do we run into that, but one of you on this call, and they just said it works, so that solves it.
Okay.
One of the things that I would also say is that please back up your Word documents before you start doing this. There's a high probability that someone goes in and messes with a Word document and goes back to an older version, or possibly changes something and then can't undo it. So please make sure you back up your Word documents locally as much as possible. That's one of the things that was coming in through the questions is like, yeah, is there a way to roll back? And the answer is make sure you save versions of the Word document before then and then upload that. That's something that Jay started going through, and I just wanted to kind of answer that question from the chat.
Gotcha. That's a good point, Stuart. So anytime you're going to be modifying a Word doc template, it's highly recommended that you come into here, into the printed doc templates, and duplicate it, okay? As opposed to just modifying the existing one and updating it. And anytime I have a client that's requesting a modification of a template, I go in here and duplicate it most of the time. And then I'll just label it with my initials and maybe a date to say it was worked on today. And so I'll duplicate it like that, and then I'll choose the file, upload it, and then I will assign this one to the purchase order location. So I'll go in here. Well, let me save this. Oh, the template name doesn't like these backslashes. Do download, choose a file, save that. Oh boy.
I didn't mean to get you off on it. So just
Yep.
but I just wanted to make sure those are the two things that we were seeing through the chat was the backing it up. The other thing you could always do when Jay was also on that screen is if you click on the template button, it downloads the version, that latest template. It's a good way to back it up. So if you have someone on your team that you're not, please just click on the template that downloads the Word document, put that into a safe location. Even though again you're in the cloud, put that to a safe location on your local OneDrive or something along those lines, and that's a good way of getting a backup.
Thanks, Stuart. Yep, so once you create that backup, you can then use that backup and test it out if you wanted to, and come into transaction definitions, go back to your transaction definition of purchase order in this example, and then choose the backup one. Okay. Okay, so I think the last piece that I wanted to show you is just this conditional statement. So you can see here in this example, I have a Batcave address and then a project address. There's different things you can do with that conditional merge field. Another way to use that is if it's a null value, you can say if the original value is null, then use that. Okay. Otherwise, stay with the original is what you can also do. Where do I put that? Sorry, I have too many screens up here. So in this example here, you can say if the shipping method is null, and so you would just leave this ship to Batcave empty, and it would just be quotes and quotes, double quotes and quotes. You can say use something else, otherwise use this. So you can do something like that as well. Okay. And that is about it for today's presentation. I don't know if there's any other questions, Stuart, or if you want to take it from here.
The only other question that came in is can this work on both Mac and like the add-in, can that work on PC and Mac, or is that only related to a PC?
As far as I'm aware, it does work on the Mac.
Great.
It's just the shortcuts are different, but the executable should work on the Mac as well.
Awesome. So that was the only last question that came in. So want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. Jay, thank you for putting a lot of work into this. It was, it's always for the 40 minutes of the presentation. It takes a couple hours to make sure we're all prepared. So Jay, thank you for all the work that you put into this. Definitely appreciate it. If anyone has any questions, I'll stay on. There was a few that did ask for the PowerPoint. I'll make sure that's being sent to you. And otherwise, have a great day and stay warm out there with the cold front coming in. So appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you, Jay, again.
No problem.